Hey guys, welcome back to my really long channel. This is the Bread and Breakfast Style by Jacqueline Wilson. We're going to read the next chapter today. This is all Jacqueline Wilson's own work. I'm just reading it for entertainment and pleasure. So without further ado guys, this is the next chapter, which is called One Slurpy Square of Yorkie Bar, and this is on page 105. Okay, let's get going. Just when I got into this happy little routine at the Royal, Mum went and mucked it all up. She stopped drooping. She started dashing about. She said we weren't going to be stuck in this crummy bed and breakfast dump a day longer. She went to the housing department and the social services and the DSS. She armed herself with Hank and Pippa and me. And whenever we were stuck too long in a queue, she sent Pippa and me off sniping into enemy territory in quest of a toilet. And she primed a Hank hand grenade and set him off howling. Mum went into battle day after day, but it didn't make any difference to where we lived. We had to stay put because there wasn't anywhere else for us to go. But someone down the social told Mum about this drop-in centre where the kids could play and you got cheap food. So Mum thought she'd give it a go. I didn't like the sound of it. It wasn't that bad actually. Just this big room, half of it was for the mums and half a creche for the kids. It was a bit of a crush in the creche, and there was just about this one woman going crackers trying to keep all the kids chirpy. We soon got them sorted out, but then someone from the council came and said that the centre had to be closed because there wasn't any more money to fund it. Mum started moaning and creating, saying this drop-in centre was practically saving her life because we were stuck in a bed and breakfast hotel and it was no place for little kids. The council, someone got a bit stammery because Mum can get ever so fierce when she feels like it, and he promised to put Hank's name down on the day nursery waiting list. Oh, very funny, said Mum. He'll be 21 before he gets a bloomin' place. This little girlie here will be old enough for a proper school soon, he said, timidly passing Pippa. Then he turned to me. I should have seen it coming and scarpered. Why isn't this girl in school, Now I can help you here. We'll get her registered at the local school straight away, and she can start on Monday morning. Thanks a lot. It had been the one big bonus of life at the Oil Hotel, no school. I knew Naomi, a funny face, and most of the other kids at the hotel had to go. I'd hoped I'd not noticed. I don't like school. Well, my first school was okay. There was a smiley teacher and we could play with the pink dough, and we all got to sing these soppy old nursery rhymes. I could sing loudest and longest. But then we moved up to Scotland and I had to go to a new school and it was different, and I got teased because of the way I talk. Then we moved back down south and lived in the flats and that school was the sort of where even the little kids get their heads held down the toilet. That was a pretty grim way of getting your hair washed. I didn't go a bundle on that school, but then the next one, my last school, wasn't so bad. That was when we were living in the lovely house and when we almost had an ordinary family, and even Mac didn't smack. Well, not so much. It was a bit depressing though. They gave me all these tests and stuff and I couldn't do a lot of it. They thought I was thick. I thought I was thick. I had to go to these extra classes to help me with my reading and my writing and my sums. The other kids laughed at me. I like it when people laugh at my jokes, but I can't stand it when they laugh at me. But I had this really great remedial teacher, Mr. Jameson. Everyone called him Jamie, even us kids. He was very gentle and he didn't yell at you when you couldn't do something. He worked with me, and whenever I learned the least little thing, he smiled and stuck his thumb up and said I was doing really fine. So I felt fine. I learnt a lot more, and then Jamie got me to do some other tests, and it turned out I wasn't thick at all. I was intelligent. Jamie asked me about all the other schools, and he said that it was no wonder I hadn't been able to learn much because I had so many challenges. But now I could get stuck in and swoop through all the sorts of stuff I didn't know. And Jamie said that I'd soon end up top of the class, not bottom, so there. But then Matt lost his job and we lost our house and we ended up in the Oil Hotel, miles and miles and miles away from my old school. Still, if I had to go to school, that was the one I wanted to go to, so that I could still see Jamie. Of course you can't go, Elsa. You'd have to get 2 buses and then walk miles. We can't afford the fares. And you'd wear out your trainers in weeks. No, you're not. You're to go to this Maybury school where the other kids go. Only they didn't all go, of course. Naomi went. The Asian kids went. 1 or 2 others, but Funny Face and nearly all the boys bunked off every day. I decided that's what I'd do. I might know I was intelligent, but this school might give me the wrong sort of test. I could easily end up being thought thick all over again. There was no guarantee at all I'd find another Jamie. I started hanging around more with Funny Face and the others. I had to work hard to get them to like me. I had to tell them lots and lots of jokes. They soon got sick of my usual repertoire. Get that fancy word, I'm not thick. I know lots and lots of things, though they're not usually the sort of things they like you to know in school. All comedians have to have a great repertoire. It's all the jokes in their act. So to impress Funny Face and his famous 5 followers, I had to tell a few rude jokes, naughty jokes, blue jokes, dirty jokes, you know the sort. The trouble was that Pippa still hung around me most of the time, and she heard some of the jokes too. I told her and I told her and told her that she mustn't repeat them, but one time she forgot. She told Mac, and then guess what? Smack. It wasn't my fault this time, said Funny Face afterwards. It was my fault, said Pippa. She burst into tears. You didn't mean to, I said, giving her a cuddle. Here, don't cry, you soppy little thing. It's me he smacked, not you. You don't hardly ever cry, said Pippa. She's tough, said Funny Face, and he sounded admiring. Yeah, that's me, tough as old boots, I said, swaggering. So on the Monday I was due to start school. I set off with Naomi, but the minute we got down the road, I veered off with Funny Face and the famous 5. Hey, Elsa, why don't you come with me? Naomi said, looking disappointed. I thought we were friends. Why do you want to go off with all the boys? We are friends, Naomi, of course we are. I just don't want to go to this dopey old school. That's all. I'll see you after, same as usual, and we'll play in the toilets and have fun. But it isn't a dopey school, really, and I hoped we'd get to be in the same class. I even swapped desks with this other girl, so there'd be a place for you to sit beside me. Oh, Naomi, I said, fidgeting. She was starting to make me feel bad, but I didn't really want to go to school. I didn't even want to be in Naomi's class and sit beside her. Naomi looked like she was really brainy, being a bookworm and all that. I knew I was intelligent. Jamie said so, but I hadn't quite caught up with the things I'd missed, and maybe it would still look as if I was thick. I didn't want Naomi knowing. So I went off with Funny Face and the others. I bunked off with them all day long. It was okay for a while. We couldn't hang about the hotel or risk going round the town because someone would spot us and the twig we were bunking off school. But we went to this camp place they'd made on a demolition site. It wasn't much of a camp, just some corrugated iron shoved together with a blue tarpaulin for a roof. It was pretty crowded when we were all crammed in there knee to knee, and there was nothing to sit on, just cold rubbly ground. Well, you could make it a bit comfier, couldn't you? Said Funny Face. Yeah, you fix it up for ourselves, said my other hench boys. Why me? I said indignantly. You're a girl, aren't you? I snorted. I wasn't going along with that sort of sexist rubbish. They seemed to think they were Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, and I was wet little Wendy. Catch me doing all your donkey work, I said. Hey, what do you get if you cross a zebra and a donkey? A Z-donk. And what do you get if you cross a pig and a zebra? Striped sausages. I kept firing jokes at them as the resident entertainer, and so they stopped expecting me to be the chief cook and bottle washer into the bargain. They started bullying the littlest boy, a runny-nosed kid not so much older than Pippa, getting him to run around the site finding sacks and stuff for us to sit on. He tripped over a brick and cut both his knees and got more runny-nosed than ever, so I mopped him up and I told him a few more jokes to make him laugh. It was heavy going. His name was Simon, and he certainly seemed a bit simple, but he was game, a little kid, and so I struck him up for an hour when the boys were bossing him around, and when we were all squatting on our makeshift cushions and Funny Face started passing around a crumpled packet of fags, I wouldn't let Simon sample a smoke. You don't want to mess around with cigarettes, my lad. They'll stunt your growth, I said, firmly, and I gave him a toffee chew instead. I spurned Funny Face's bag too. I can't stick the smell and they make me go dizzy, and I've seen my mum coughing every morning. But even though Simon and I didn't participate in the smoking session, it still got so fuggy in the camp it made my head start reeling. It came as a relief when the blue tarpaulin suddenly got ripped right off and we were exposed to this other dopey gang of boys also bunking off from school. They threw a whole pile of dust and dirt all over us as we sat there gasping, and then ran away screeching with laughter. So then, of course, Funny Face and the famous five started breathing fire instead of inhaling it, and they went rampaging across the demolition site to wreak their revenge. I rampaged a bit too, but it all seemed a bit ridiculous to me. There was a pathetic sort of war with both gangs throwing stones rather wildly. Simon got overexcited and wouldn't keep down out of rage, so he got hit on his head. It was only a little bump in a graze, but it frightened him and he started yelling. The boys just stood about jeering at him, though they looked a bit shamefaced. So I rushed over to him, going, "Mima, Mima, Mima," like an ambulance, and then I made a big production of examining him and pretending his whole head had been knocked off and he needed major operation. Simon was so simple he believed me at first and started crying harder, but when he twigged it was all a joke, he started to enjoy being the centre of attention as a major casualty of war. The war seemed to have petered out anyway, and the rival gang wandered off down the chip shop because it was nearly lunchtime. That proved to be a major drawback to bunking off. None of us lot had any lunch. We didn't have any spare cash either. As DSS kids, we were entitled to a free school lunch, but they just issued you with a ticket, not actual dosh you could spend. So as we went at school, we were stuck. I began to wish I hadn't been so generous with my toffee chew. One of the boys found a half Yorkie bar he'd forgotten about right at the bottom of his bomber jacket pocket. The wrapping paper had disintegrated and the chocolate was liberally sprinkled with little fluffy bits, and after he'd passed it round for everyone to nibble it, was all slurpy with boy lick too. But it was food after all, so I ate a square. I was still starving all afternoon and getting ever so bored with bunking off. I had to keep an eye on the time, so I knew when to go back to the oil hotel as if I'd just been let out of afternoon school. When you keep on looking at the time, it doesn't half go slowly. Half a century seemed to plod past, but it was only half an hour. But eventually it was time to be making tracks, and then I found out I'd been wasting my time after all. Mum had decided to trot down to school with Hank and Pippa to see how I got on my first day, only I wasn't there, obviously, so she went into school to find me, and of course the teacher said I hadn't ever arrived. Mum was mad, and then Matt got in on the act, and you can guess what he did. So I stormed off in a huffle by myself. I sat there, and it hurt where Matt had hit me, and my tummy rumbled, and I felt seriously fed up, but I didn't cry. And then I heard footsteps, the clackety stomp of high heels. It was Mum come to find me. I thought at first she might still be mad, but she sat down beside me, even though she nearly split her leggings, and she put her arms round me. I did cry a bit then. "I'm sorry, Sausage," she said, nuzzling into my wild lion's mane. "I know he's too hard on you sometimes, but it's just that you won't do as you're told, and you've got to go to school, Elsa. It's not fair. I don't want to go to that rotten old school where I don't know anyone. You know that nice Naomi, she's your friend. Oh, come on now, Elsa, you never shy. You," Mum laughed and tweaked my nose. "The others all bunk off, the boys. I don't care about them. I care about you, my girl. Now listen, you don't want to go to school. I don't want you to go to school. I'd much sooner have you round the hotel keeping the kids quiet for me. I've missed you something chronic today." "Really?" I said, cheering up considerably. "Yes, but listen, you've got to go to school because it's the law, see? And if you don't go to school, they can say I'm not looking after you properly. You know the social are always on to us as it is. We don't want to give them any excuse whatsoever to whip you into care." She got me there, so I had to go the next morning. I set off with all the other kids, and then when we got to the end of the road, Funny Face and the famous five all called to me. "Come on then, Elsa, come with us, eh? Come to the camp." Little Simon even came and held my hand and asked him if I'd come to play ambulances with him. His face fell a mile when I had to say no, so I gave a packet of polos and showed him how to poke his pointy little tongue through the hole. That cheered him up no end, Elsa, why aren't you coming? Said Funny Face. You chicken or something? Hey, why did the one-eyed chicken cross the road to get to the bird's eye shop? That is a foul joke, said Funny Face. We both cracked up. Come on, you can't be good fun. You can be good fun for a girl, said Funny Face. You can be quite perceptive for a boy, I said, and I waved him to him and walked off with Naomi. Is he your boyfriend then? She said. Look, I'm the one that's meant to make the jokes, I said. Him. He fancies you all the same, said Naomi. You and him will be slinking off to room 110 soon. Naomi? I nudged her and she nudged me back and we both fell about giggling. The manager and the bunny lady can't let room 110 because the damp got so bad all the wallpaper's peeled off and the health inspector's been round. But someone's nicked a spare key and some of the kids pair off, boy and girl, and sneak into the empty room together. They don't seem to mind the damp, but catch me going anywhere with Funny Face, least of all room 1110. Naomi and I had to laugh about it, like I said, but as I got nearer and nearer, the school there suddenly didn't seem anything to laugh at. Cheer up, Elsa, it's okay, really it is. Look, tell me a school joke. I swallowed. My mouth had suddenly gone dry. For once I didn't really feel in a jokey mood. Still, a comedian has to be funny no matter what she feels like. Okay, so there's this geography teacher, right? And he's asking all the kids where all these mountains are. And he says to the little thick one, where are the Andes? And the little thick one blinks a bit and then pipes up, at the end of my armies. My own Andes were cold and clenched tight. I felt the little thick one all right. And that is where I'm going to stop it, guys. So we're on page 122. The next chapter will be called Pizza and Porcupines. But until the next time, guys, goodbye.